Hi, I'm Mike Gilliam, and this is a Slice of New York. It's the time of year when romance begins to fill the air. And when you talk about romantic cities, New York is right there at the top of the list of places where love can flourish. When it comes to love in the movies or real-time proposals, one place stands out above the rest: the iconic Empire State Building.
This is my heart. My niche, as they call it.
The Empire State Building was once the tallest building in the world, and it still stands tall when it comes to romance. Renita Edmond has been making visitors trips to Empire special for 27 years.
Hello there, welcome.
She worked in accounting before taking a job at the iconic building.
I came here as a child, and I was amazed by the building itself. I never dreamed that I would be working here. And working here, dealing with the world, has been very heartfelt. The people make my day. The people that come here, I try to give them the best experience ever.
That includes sharing the building's rich history. She covers everything from the elevators and how fast they climb to how the building was constructed. So Renita, tell me about this area right here.
So this is actual construction site of the Empire State Building when they were being built.
Now I see here you've got like all sorts of video on the walls too and stuff. So it actually feels like you're on the site,
On
right?
the site. And this is how the men did their job. Every single day. They worked 5 days a week.
And how long did it take them to build it?
1 year and 45 days.
Wow. So Renita, you can't talk about the Empire State Building without talking about the famous movies that were shot here, right?
Definitely. So, in terms of love stories, that Fair to Remember was the first love story filmed in the Empire State Building.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second spin-off was, of course, Sleepless in Seattle.
It's the New York City romance and the many wedding proposals that make Renita's job so special.
This is the most romantic spot in New York City to get engaged.
Renita says she often takes pictures for couples who are getting engaged and remembers the very first proposal she saw.
He got on his knees and she started crying. She said yes. She was in tears because she was really surprised.
Engaged at the top of the world.
They took pictures with me, even with the girl and her new ring. Yes.
What's that do to you when you see that?
It touches my heart, really does.
If I came to you and I said, Renita, should I get engaged on the Empire State Building? What would you say to me?
That would be the most memorable moment of your life, to get engaged here in the Empire State Building.
Do it?
Yes, I would say definitely.
Now, the Empire State Building is one of the most romantic places in the city, and it's featured in a number of movies. Here to tell us about romance in the movies, we have film critic Neil Rosen. Okay, so let's start with a clip from Sleepless in Seattle, and we'll talk about it on the other side.
You got it.
Shall we?
So many romantic movies are set here, but that one kind of stands out for a lot of movie fans.
Sleepless in Seattle was written and directed by Nora Ephron, and she wrote 3 movies, love stories that were love letters to New York, and they're also love stories. One is When Harry Met Sally, which she didn't direct, she just wrote it. It was directed by the late Rob Reiner, and that's a tragic story unto itself, but she wrote Sleepless in Seattle, and she also wrote You've Got Mail. And both Sleepless in Seattle and You've Got Mail both star Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan. And Meg Ryan, of course, is in When Harry Met Sally, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But Sleepless in Seattle is a terrific movie. I mean, it's an homage to An Affair to Remember. The top of the Empire State Building has been used for many, many romantic scenes.
Oh, yeah. Now, there were different versions of that memorable line in that movie, in the different versions of that. And it was something like, it's the closest to heaven that you can get, or something like that, right?
Right. Look at this. It's the Empire State Building. It's the closest place you can get to heaven in New York. And that's the line. And that line was used for the first time in a movie called Love Affair in 1939, which starred Charles Boyer and Irene Dunne. And they met at the top of the Empire State Building. And then that was remade years later in 1957 in a movie called An Affair to Remember, which was with Cary Grant and Deborah Kerr. And then it was remade again with the original title Love Affair in, I believe it was 1994 with Warren Beatty and his real-life wife, Annette Bening. And they decide they're going to meet as an exact time, date on the top of the Empire State Building.
Or another one with a memorable scene, When Harry Met Sally. Check that out.
Yes! 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 Oh! 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 Oh, God. Oh.
I'll have what she's having.
When Harry Met Sally would be my all-time favorite. I love that movie. And they gave this wonderful ending. And I love this ending. It touches my heart. I just saw it on TV the other day for like the 80th time. And when Billy Crystal runs to find her at New Year's Eve and she's alone at a party, and she goes,
I love that you get cold when it's 71 degrees out. I love that it takes you an hour and a half to order a sandwich. I love that you get a little crinkle above your nose when you're looking at me like I'm nuts. I love that after I spend a day with you, I can still smell your perfume on my clothes. And I love that you are the last person I want to talk to before I go to sleep at night. And it's not because I'm lonely, and it's not because it's New Year's Eve. I came here tonight because when you realize you want to spend the rest of your life with somebody, you want the rest of your life to start as soon as possible.
I get goosebumps.
Let's talk about some of the other iconic movies, like Woody Allen. He did Annie Hall.
Well, Annie Hall, I mean, that's another classic, you know, but Woody Allen's made 50 movies, and probably 40 some odd, 42 or 43 of them were shot here in New York. That's the backdrop for his movies. Annie Hall is just a wonderful, wonderful love story.
You can't talk about movies shot in New York without mentioning the big one, King Kong.
Well, King Kong, there's been 3 versions of King Kong shot in New York. And the first one, which was done in the 30s, you know, most people look at that film and they think it's like a monster horror film. And in some ways it is. But what people don't realize, although the last line of the movie tells you that, it's a love story. King Kong is in love with Fay Wray in that movie. He protects her. He's madly in love with Fay Wray in the film. The more recent one with Peter Jackson, they return to the Empire State Building, and King Kong is in love with Naomi Watts. And yes, I mean, the famous line, it wasn't the planes that killed him. It was beauty that killed the beast, because he was heartbroken. So it's actually, in many ways, King Kong is a love story set on top of the Empire State. I mean, when you think of King Kong, you think of the Empire State Building.
Romance in the movies. Great stuff, Neil. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Mike.
We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll delve deeper into love in the city when we talk dating. We'll talk to a dating coach and an expert in the field who have some helpful tips on how to jumpstart your dating game, as well as a few people who will share their dating experiences. This is a Slice of New York. With so many singles living here, you would think it would be easy for people to find love. But that's not always the case. Here to share their experiences and offer a few tips, we have a great group. Erika Ettin is a dating coach and owns a company called A Little Nudge. We also have an associate professor from Queensborough Community College, Dr. Aalai. She's a social psychologist who does a lot of work with social media, and she's the author of a new book entitled Disconnection: The Search for Identity in a Digital Age. And we have 2 young people who are actively dating. Darle Bailey Riordan and Carmen Ramos are both students at Queensborough Community College. Welcome to all of you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good to have you guys on here. Erika, how has dating changed over the last, say, 10, 15 years?
In a lot of ways. So I've had my business for 15 years. So before, when I started my business, profiles were longer, Match.com, eHarmony. You were writing paragraphs. You were sending messages like emails. Now, Bumble, Hinge, Tinder, you're writing basically texts. Everything is so quick. If someone doesn't answer in an hour, you think they're no longer interested. You can't say something's in the mail anymore. So I find that, for better or for worse, sometimes worse, that fast pace makes people think they have to make decisions quicker, and they think to themselves, well, there's another profile, there's another bus, there's another this. And so I consider it sort of part of my job to get people to slow down and remember there's a person at the end of this profile, a person with feelings and thoughts just like you have, and we have to give everyone a fair chance.
So does it kind of complicate things more, the fact that it's moving so quickly?
It complicates things more. I think it overwhelms people sometimes. A lot of people say to me, I got on the apps, I don't know what to do, I'm feeling overwhelmed. And so I try to break things down for people into bite-sized chunks. Send a certain number of messages every day. Log into the apps for 15 minutes at a time so you can't find yourself getting addicted to it. So if we take little measurable steps, I used to be an economist, so I like measuring things. If we take little measurable steps, it makes people feel more empowered in the process than just sort of like flailing.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Aalai, has the move to this digital society we live in, has that really affected a lot of this?
Absolutely. I think, the younger folk can attest to this as well. I think that the way we're being socialized with all the technology, there's negatives and positives to it. One of the negatives is that a lot of our in-person skills are eroding, and so people become more comfortable communicating online, but then to your point, they also forget a lot of times there's another person on the other side of the screen. So it's kind of striking that balance between remembering the humanity behind the communication, but then also to your point, you can be overwhelmed by all the choices.
Mm-hmm. Darle, Carmen, how do you guys go about meeting prospective daters? Do you have a plan?
I mean, the plan is to try and meet people in person because, like Erika was saying, I feel like being online, there's that instant gratification. I also feel like online dating is just like pretty superficial. And I also feel like before COVID, I know a lot of people who've gotten married that met before COVID from online dating. And I think during COVID, this like fear of getting sick from strangers somehow imploded into fear of strangers. I think that people they're afraid to meet people. They don't know how that person is going to affect them. That's why it's so much easier to have these small conversations and have them not actually amount to anything.
How about you, Carmen?
Well, I think I'm a little bit of the opposite. I am doing the dating online, trying the apps, and trying to put myself out there as much as I can. I already know that I'm open to it, and I try to see how the person I'm also matched with, how they also see dating. So if we have two great insights of like how we're dating, we can create something meaningful and better. That's how I view dating.
So what's the worst line somebody's laid on?
The worst line? Oh, there's so many. There are so many. Basically telling me like to do more of the traditional wife role.
Ugh.
And no, but and I found it very offensive because I'm someone that I am more than just how that person objectified me in that sense.
Yeah.
And I'm someone that's educated, someone who's comes from a good family, someone who, I'm very motivated, and it's in a space like that where like there's a lot of people who are in that mindset. We have to just move forward in a sense where it's like we have to it's like beating the odds.
So they need not apply.
Yeah.
Right. No, I don't think they actually met in person. That comment from what I remember.
On the flip side, the beautiful thing about him revealing that about himself is that he weeded himself out.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things to say to clients is, they weed themselves out.
Yes.
And let them, because it's so much more important at the beginning to be an observer than to be a detective or a sleuth. Like, so many people are like, well, what question should I ask to see if we're aligned? I'm like, you could literally ask nothing, because their values will come out without you asking. And your job is to listen and then to move on if it doesn't align with yours.
That's very true.
Yeah.
Okay, you've got the experts right here.
Yes, I do, and I love this. Thank you.
Ask them a question. What do you want to ask them?
What would you say is like the biggest issue plaguing our generation with dating right
Yeah,
now?
that's actually really
Wow.
I think people are afraid, like you said. I don't know if it's stranger danger, but I have noticed in terms of the lingo, like, for example, you probably know, you could be talking to somebody.
Oh yeah, just talking.
Could be
Talking.
anything
The talking
from
stage.
texting on the app to sleeping together.
Yes.
Yeah.
What is talking? And I think sometimes people are so afraid of saying, I'm actually dating this person, because if it ends, then they have to say, I'm no longer dating this person,
Right.
instead of I'm no longer talking to this person.
Yeah.
And we were talking about this in the green room. I think the most beautiful thing about life is it's at will.
Right.
You could try something, and if it's not working for you, you leave.
Right.
They could leave too.
Right.
But I think without risk comes no reward. And I think people are very afraid to take risks these days. They won't call it dating. They won't call it a relationship. They won't call somebody their partner.
Yeah.
And I get questions every day like, we're exclusive, but he's not my boyfriend. I'm like,
Right.
I don't know what that means either.
Yeah.
Talk to each other.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, I think to add to that, the communication issue is really
Yeah.
important. Apparently, and you all could attest to this, it's very common to be ghosted.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of fears around, what if a person feels like they're opening up and they really like the person, and then they just don't hear from them again.
Yeah.
And so I think that gets to the
Yep.
communication, where there's this lack of skills in terms of being open with someone or letting someone know if maybe it's not working out. And so a lot of times you get that avoidant behavior where the
Yeah.
person just doesn't respond. And I think the most important thing is to just not take those things personally. When you get ghosted, it says a lot more about the person that ghosted you than anything
Correct.
about you,
Very
especially if
true.
it's
Correct.
after just talking very briefly or one date or things
Yeah.
like that. But that fear of rejection, I'm sure you get that a lot among your
Yeah.
clients.
Of
I think that's
course.
very pronounced.
Okay, cool.
Absolutely.
Very good information, right?
Thank you.
We're going to take a break, and we're going to come back and talk to a couple of people to see what it's like out there for the more mature but young at heart daters. Dating is for all ages, but finding romance in the city can be challenging for more mature daters. Maybe the club scene is no longer a workable option, or online dating isn't turning up the best prospects. So where does a person find that special someone? Joining us now, we have two single women who have agreed to share their experiences. Marie Ramos is a mom of two who works in the biotech pharmaceutical industry. And Ravyn Green is an associate real estate broker who also does some work in business management. The professor and the coach are still with us. Marie, how do you feel about dating right now?
Not optimistic, not, I haven't been able to, I've been online on and off. I actually love the thought of just finding someone organically, but that hasn't worked for me either. So I'm not optimistic about it at all.
Ravyn, what's it like out there?
Okay, so
Okay, so.
dating apps can become very overwhelming. I would say that I'm on maybe one or two of them. It's not really my favorite thing to do. I'm more so interested in, meeting someone organically in person, possibly. But I work so much. So then I go home at night and I'm like, make something to eat, go to bed, try again tomorrow.
Oh. Okay.
Ditto.
We have the coach and the expert here right now. Okay. Marie, we have the coach and the expert here. What do you want to ask them?
How does one go about on a dating app and just start that process rolling? Like, I know that we have to do this whole profile thing, but sometimes the profile filters don't give you enough They don't give you enough information. And then you end up on a profile, and then you end up on this dating site, and you end up speaking to someone or texting, not really speaking, and then they ghost you. But I also ghost them too, because
Well, that's not good.
because sometimes some of these guys, they come out and they say inappropriate things. So to me, that's like a red flag.
Oh, that is. You should cut off communication when someone does that. I have a question. You said something before, and I just want to ask for clarification. You said it doesn't work. What is working? What does working mean to you?
Having a normal conversation with a person, like a back and forth banter that's a smart one, or you talk authentically about yourself, not any of this extra stuff that happens.
Right.
Like, I don't want to hear any of that. Let's just talk about like us, like what is your interest? What is it that you like doing? Or I feel like sometimes these guys come out and they give you these stories and they go on and on about what they want and what their expectations are. And I'm like, I don't know about that.
I'm not here to assess you. I'm not a therapist. But I will say I do hear a lot of generalizations. These guys are like this. It's like this. I would lower the stakes for what working means. Working means having a nice conversation with someone. Working means going on one date. We talked about this earlier.
Yes.
If you go on one date this month, you have succeeded. Because we can't predict outcomes. We can't control what the heck is going to come out of somebody's mouth.
Yeah.
But we can control how we put ourselves out there. So to answer your question, for a profile, I give clients this exercise to name 5 nouns that represent you. So things you like, and that's what goes in your profile. So, it might be dogs. It might be a certain beverage you like. It might be theater, whatever it is. I don't know you well enough. But think about the things that make you you and put those in the profile. Because you can't get to the core of your being in a profile, nor can you assess that about somebody else. Right. So the sole purpose of online dating is simply to get to a date. And if you've done that, you have been successful. So maybe it's like rewarding yourself for the small wins. If you go on that date, that is success. We can't control the rest yet.
Okay, Ravyn, how about you?
So I'd like for you to tell me what is one thing I can maybe incorporate in my day-to-day or during the week that can set me up for success here.
I would say don't just go home after work and make food and go to bed every night. Yeah, and I understand that. I mean, I think that's a common thing we have as New Yorkers. We're super busy, we're working hard, we're all ambitious women, right? Yeah. And so make time for yourself, but also make time to put yourself in situations where you might have the opportunity to form a connection. And that means having to breach going out of the house a little bit. And it could just be something like, stopping by a neighborhood coffee shop, getting to know people there. I was sharing, I take my dogs out a lot to the park and things like that. Just be out in the world for those kind of opportunities, if you will, to potentially make a connection.
Absolutely.
Has social media changed the scene for more mature daters, even more so than the younger daters?
I think that there's not as much of a stigma with older daters anymore about going online to do it. And I think part of that is because older people are also on social media now, they feel more comfortable navigating online kind of lives, if you will. And so that part of it is, it doesn't have that kind of stigma that it used to. I know a lot of people who also use social media as a pipeline for dating. And so there's also that possibility, although maybe that's not our intention when we log into those apps.
Right.
Ravyn, what's the biggest turnoff you see from guys?
Oh my gosh.
Just one.
Okay, I think the first one has to be, and I really want to talk to the people here, please stop sending women those censored pictures thinking that we are going to respond in a positive way to whatever your intention is. That is not our intention. That is not why we're online. We don't want to see that. Keep it in your photo album.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. How about you, Marie? Same
At
thing?
my age, they better not be sending me not attractive. No, but I did get stuff like that, and that is a red flag.
I'm almost out of time. Erika, I just want you to do one thing for me, though.
Okay.
We don't have the men here.
We don't.
So what is your
God.
best piece of advice you can give to the men in our audience who might be out there in the dating scene?
Be inquisitive. it is the #1 complaint from women, from people in general, but particularly women, that when they're online, they are the ones doing all of the questions and people are simply answering. And so my #1, besides don't send unsolicited selfies.
Number one.
Yeah, number 1.5 is be inquisitive, ask people questions back, make sure you actually care about those answers. And then second, be decisive about making plans.
Yeah.
Don't just give a nebulous "we should meet." How about, would you like to meet this week? How's Wednesday or Thursday? Then ask where she lives. Make it convenient to her. Say, how's 8 p.m.? Say, it's a date, and then you actually lock down a date. There's nothing sexier.
Would you like to add?
Yeah, I would add to that, because that's one of the things that we see. A lot of people are talking online, but they don't actually meet in person. And you can't really make that connection until you put yourself in the position to see if you have chemistry, to see them face to face, to have a conversation. Don't keep it confined to texting and messaging just on the apps, because a lot of times that doesn't go anywhere. And then the ghosting and things like that happen. So once you feel safe to make that next step and to actually make a plan, set a date, and follow through with it, I would say.
Do that sooner rather than
Yeah,
later.
I think so. Absolutely.
I always say within a week of matching, set up the date.
Yeah.
Okay, that's going to have to be the last word. I want to thank all of our guests for coming on and sharing their experiences with romance in the city. And thank you for joining us. I'm Mike Gilliam. We'll see you next time on A Slice of New York.